Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, good to be back.
You know what? It's just great to be in Statesville, North Carolina.
It is good to be in States Vegas.
That is exactly right.
Yeah, the fabulous States Vegas.
After spending 3 days on the road with a Marine driving,
Whew.
I'm not sure whether I should go to the hospital, should run to the mountains, or keep
probably
2
need to
arms
have
lengths from Devon.
Yeah, you probably need to have like a risk assessment.
You're guilty by association of the Globe and Anchor.
We can have we can have a PTS evaluation done on you after that. So
I might definitely need that. Definitely need that.
well, welcome to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. We are a 501c3 based right here out of Iredell County, but we do work nationally to solve housing issues for service-connected disabled veterans. You can find out more about us at phhusa.org, where we have a plethora of things that you can get involved in, from events to volunteering to sourcing our mission, and so we really appreciate it.
I'm gonna tell you, we got a great show lined up today. Been waiting for this show for several weeks now.
I thought you were waiting on me to use the word plethora.
Well, I wasn't gonna say anything because I don't want to have to give you a set of steak knives.
Did you notice who's back today?
You have too many steak knives. I can hear her, and it just warms my soul to know that
Mrs.
somebody
Giggles
is
has
here
returned.
to laugh.
I know, she has returned.
Brings joy to my heart.
I know, she brings joy to my heart too. Hello, Mrs. Giggles.
Hello, Brian.
We do have an awesome show, and we are so excited to have our dear friend Rocky Lynn, and my neighbor from all of my life. I have a lifelong neighbor friend, and so Rocky is a recording artist, Statesville native, and got an incredible story. Served in the 82nd Airborne, jumped out of airplanes for no good reason. And we're really happy to have you here, man.
Hello, Brad. Thank you for having me. We have been neighbors our entire life.
Every day.
So I wonder, could you spell plethora, or is that just a word that
No,
you
I can't spell
actually use?
it. I can't spell it. I can use it. I can use it in context.
Here's how old I am. I'm so old that I'm too old to even cut my own string trimmer wire now.
Right.
So I buy at Home Depot, I buy these pre-packaged string trimmer lines. They come in rolls of 10 in little circles, right?
Right.
So I'm at Home Depot, and I'm checking them out. I buy like 10 of them at a time because I think we don't have to make that many trips over there, and I got a pretty good sized yard. And the machine says to me, it says one of the items in your bag has not been scanned. So it knew that I missed one of them. The computer knew, and all I did was put them in there. So I had to go back through and find it. At the same time, I was getting some spray paint because I wanted to touch up some speaker cabinets. So I scanned the spray paint, and this thing comes on the computer, says you have to have a manager come over. So a manager had to come over and had to show my driver's license to buy a can of spray paint. So I couldn't get out of there without making sure I paid for every string trimmer thing that's paid for, and I had to also show my driver's license to buy some paint. But apparently you can take an entire bag of cocaine into the White House and nobody knows where it came from. There's DNA. There's DNA on everything in this room. There's DNA on everything in the White House, but there's not one bit of DNA on that bag, and you don't have to show your ID to vote. So I'm not making a statement. I'm not picking a side. I'm just talking about string trimmer wire here.
You're just calling balls and strikes.
I'm
here,
calling
man.
balls and strikes. So at the end of the day, I think accountability is the issue, and we need to all see if Brad Borders can spell plethora.
That's right. That's a plethora of issues.
I think it starts with P. I think the first. I usually just. My dad does that. He talks like that guy in Sling Blade. You ever? If he doesn't know a word, he'll just hit the first part of it.
Right.
Like if he's going to say acetaminophen, he'll go, "Give me some of that acetaminophen."
I'm going to tell you, chap, he is now officially my favorite guest.
Always. You never had a bad show with that. Ever.
Well, Rocky, let's help our guests, those listeners that may not know you. It'd be hard to believe there might be somebody listening that doesn't know you, but tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what led you to join the service.
Well, I would love to sit here in this stool in this beautiful studio with Joe, the engineer, and this beautiful town we live in, and say that I joined the military because I was patriotic and I wanted to serve my country. Because in retrospect, that's what I did. But in real time in the 11th grade in North Iredell High School,
That's right.
I really didn't have a whole lot of choices. I started my life at a place called the Barium Springs Home for Children down in Troutman, North Carolina, where I lived for the first part of my life. As an infant, I was abandoned as a child and found out in the elements. And I grew up there at the Home for Children. Then I was adopted when I was a young man, and I moved over next to you.
That's right.
My dad is probably the hardest working man I've ever known in my life. He's almost 91. He still mows his yard. I gotta talk him out of climbing trees and and trimming limbs. But he he grew up in the Depression and a Korean War veteran, and he's only got like a 3rd grade education, so he doesn't read. Smart man, just doesn't read. So we struggled growing up, financially to get what we needed to go. So for me, the Army was the best possible choice. And I think that I don't know if you're allowed to talk about God on here, but I'm going to talk about him anyway. I think God was kind of leading me. I wasn't a bad kid. I never really got in trouble. I just didn't really have a direction. I knew I wanted to be Eddie Van Halen, except taller and more handsome.
That's right.
That was my
It sounds like you
goal.
checked all those boxes off.
So I went in the Army because they had this thing called the VEAP, the Veterans Educational Assistance Program, that would pay for me to go to college after. And I wanted to go out to California and go to this guitar school, which I did. And then I auditioned for every rock band in the world. I mean, the school I went to, Guitar Institute of Technology, sounds way more fancy than it is. They had all sorts of lists whenever somebody was auditioning. So I would go to these cattle calls, and back then they were looking more for looks than they were anything. So I was skinny and wore spandex. The pictures are awful. You just wouldn't believe how bad. The pictures are bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. But so it got down to me and one other fella for this big rock band, big famous rock band.
Now, can you tell us who it was?
It was Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, no kidding.
And it was me, and I was going to play the whole set for the management, and he was going to play the whole set as well. And the gentleman comes in, and he'd been drinking, and I thought, I'm getting this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this one after losing every gig to Tom and Curly and the Three Stooges. I was going to finally get a gig. I didn't get it.
No kidding.
And then I realized I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, I didn't smoke cigarettes. I do all that stuff now, but I didn't do any of it then. I didn't do any of it back then. So then I moved to Nashville. I figured, well, the heck with it. I'll just go to Nashville and be Tim McGraw, except taller and more handsome.
That's
that was
right.
my plan.
Yeah.
And, currently, Dalen sings in our band, a little 19, 20-year-old young lady that sings with us. She says I'm shooting for Willie Nelson. I think I might can get Willie if I give a good shot at it. But the Army set me on the right pace. Those gentlemen.
That's great.
Put me right where I needed to go, pointed me in the right direction. I get up every day. I work hard. I have a family. I have children that are on track. I have a job and a career. I'm able to serve veterans in my own capacity with all my heart. I just got back from the state of Minnesota for our 20th annual Tribute to the Troops motorcycle ride. That was just last weekend.
Wow.
And it's all because people like you, Brad Borders, and you, John Gallina, and you, Devin, pointed me in the right direction. And I appreciate that. And it's my job in life to say thank you to those men, and that's what I do.
Well, we're coming up here on a break, and if
I talked the whole time.
you are doing great, you're making our job easy. But if you are listening and you want to learn more, we're going to be talking with Rocky some more about Where I Belong, a documentary about Rocky's life that is getting ready to debut here in Statesville at the Full Bloom Festival coming up here in just another week. So stay tuned and learn more.
There's more. Putting the pieces.
Gonna be live on Facebook?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
I didn't even share it today. How about that?
Well, since I normally act as the comic relief, and Rocky's got that covered, I think I might as well just get on out of here.
Don't go anywhere. I'm out of ammunition. That's all it was.
Well, we've been doing this thing about military acronyms during some of our breaks.
Yep.
And so I'm curious as to what are some acronyms that you remember? And of course, FCC rules don't apply when you're live on Facebook. And so, of course, I don't think they apply either for Spotify or iHeartMedia or wherever you get your podcast. But how about you? What are some acronyms that you remember?
Well, the first acronym that I ran into in the Army was the ASFAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery.
Oh, my
and,
gosh.
I took that in Hickory, North Carolina. I cut school because nobody was really watching me. I could,
Yes.
I didn't go go more than I went, sadly. And somehow or another, back in the old days, you'd fill that out with a number 2 pencil.
Yep.
And now it's probably on computer. I must have got on the wrong line. Like I must have filled out 2 where 1 was and 1 where, you know what I mean? Because somehow or another, and as we move forward in this, you'll know it can't be true. Somehow or another, I scored 100 on the asphalt. I scored, and I could have done anything. I could have been a radar, a guy at the airport. What do they call those? Air traffic controllers. I could have worked in the hospital.
But you chose being a grunt.
No, I didn't choose it, Stephen. My drill sergeant, not drill sergeant, my recruiter, Dwayne Say, that was his name, staff sergeant here in Statesville.
Say what?
Dwayne Say, right? S-E-A-Y. He thought that since I had done so well on the ASVAB and scored 100, that I should be in the infantry.
Yeah, paratrooper.
And so it didn't occur to me that we were going to jump out of that plane until we were actually in that plane.
Yeah.
It never really occurred to me to that. And I remember...
How are we getting out of here? Oh, out back door? Yeah.
The towers were kind of fun. The towers were fun, and it was a blast. And then we got in that plane, and the biggest guy in our jump school class was a guy named Kaya, K-I-A, and he was from Hawaii. And this guy was sumo big, but not heavy. He was just big. And he was the first one in the door. And
bet he felt like a sack of potatoes.
Somewhere between, we missed something. They were coming up on the DZ. There's an acronym.
Yeah,
drop zone. They were coming up on the DZ too fast or something, or too high, or the wind, and we had to fly around. And somewhere around that corner, Kai decided he wasn't going.
A frozen jumper in the door.
30 seconds.
And make a long story short, we had to fly around again while jump masters got a hold of each limb of Kai. And when we went over that DZ again, they threw him out. And they looked at us and went, I don't know what they said, but they didn't have no problem getting us out of that plane.
I believe
10
it.
seconds. Mike's off.
Heroes come from small towns, poor kids and class clowns, and everybody knows when push come to shove, they're the first one in line for the country they love. The cost of freedom is buried in the ground.
You are listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes, and I'm going to tell you that is a great piece of bumper music there, written and sung by Rocky Lynn, and special guest with us here today. And if you don't know about Rocky, and you may not know that he's been on our show before, one of our returning guests, and thankful to have him right here in our own community. Really an extraordinary guy. Has a charity. Him and his wife have a charity, Tribute to the Troops, where they do motorcycle rides and support the families of fallen soldiers. And as Rocky was just sharing in the previous segment, just celebrated their 20th anniversary. And so, Rocky, thanks for all you do, and just for being an inspiration to us all. But as we stated before we went to break, you have a documentary that's getting ready to be debuted here in Statesville at the Full Bloom Film Festival.
We do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I used to host this show on A&E. Some of you may have seen it, called Operation Build, and that's where we would rebuild veterans' homes who had been injured and needed assistance, handicap assistance. And the people that did that show felt like they'd like to do a documentary about me. I personally thought it was the dumbest idea I'd ever heard in my whole life. I mean, I get it. I was told my whole life I was found in a garbage dumpster, thrown away, and then I grew up at the orphanage. But that doesn't make a movie. That's just a bad start. Yeah. That's just like a pretty bad little beginning. Yeah. And then the day after I graduated high school, I went in the United States Army, and I spent 3 years active and 3 years in the reserves, being molded into a man by people like yourselves, and I was deployed, but that doesn't make a movie either. That's just good luck, So then I moved to California. We talked about that, to be Eddie Van Halen. That didn't work. That doesn't make a movie. So I moved to Nashville to be Tim McGraw, and I ended up writing songs for. I've been lucky, I've written songs for Charlie Pride, and Ricky Skaggs, and the Oak Ridge Boys and Steve Warner, and I just got lucky. I'm not very good at it. I just write a whole bunch of them. If you throw enough darts, you're bound to hit something, right? And that didn't make a movie either. But then when they started making this movie, and so let me tell you a little bit about my charity. It's called Tribute to the Troops, and what we do is get on motorcycles and we visit families who have lost loved ones in post 9/11, and we include not just Gold Star families, but suicide people that lose their battle with PTSD. And over the last 20 years, we've sent 123 children to college. Just a blue-collar kid from a dirt road that lives behind Brad Border. So that's a blessing for us. That doesn't make a movie. But then they found my father. These people got a DNA detective, and they found my real natural dad. And he never knew that I'd been born, never knew he had a whole family. Guess what he did for a living?
Wrote music.
He was a guitar player in a country band.
No kidding.
He was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne, and he rode a motorcycle his whole life.
No, we don't.
Holy smokes.
Holy buckets, that's a movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
And not only that, he was still alive. 84 years old, he was still alive. I got to meet my father. I was holding his hand just hours before he passed away.
Oh my gosh.
And I never knew him. I now have a family. I have brothers and sisters. At Thanksgiving, it's not just my little children and my wife. I go to this family event where there's brothers and cousins, and it's the biggest blessing that's ever happened
Where was
to
he?
me.
Where was he living?
He lived in Wilkesboro.
In Wilkesboro.
He lived in Wilkesboro, and
Yeah.
the story of my mother is much more complicated, but they found her as well, and that whole story is in the movie. We're doing what's called the Film Festival circuit right now. We've
Yeah.
been accepted into the L.A. Film Festival and the New York Film Festival, and up to this point, first, when I watched the movie, I was mostly relieved that it didn't suck. You know, like I didn't want it. I was like, well, if I'm going to put people in this room for an hour, I hope I'm not going to, they come see me, I can bore them to death as long as I want to. But anyway, they started showing it, and we started winning. We've won 4 film festivals so far, and been accepted to all these fancy ones. And so the Full Bloom Film Festival, which is the one they do here in Statesville, have decided they're going to show it, they're going to feature it as one of the films that they show. And so we're super excited that it's going to be at Shearer Hall coming up pretty soon.
Mitchell College.
Next Friday.
That's
Next
next
Friday at 8
And-
o'clock.
But what you guys do in this world inspire me to no end. I was friends with Dale, and had been friends forever with Dale. And I recorded Dale's band's album. Do you know Dale was a drummer?
Oh yeah.
Outlaw 2-1.
Outlaw 2-1. He told me one time, he said that, you know how your mind works different than you want it to work. It just works however it wants to. He said when he was in that accident and that IED went off, that the first thing went through his mind, he didn't think he was going to die. He didn't think he was going to lose his legs. He said, I don't think I'll ever play drums again.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he said.
Right.
And then, so for 2 weeks, when they were making that record, and Dale Beatty would come in here and sit down behind those drums with no legs, and he'd play that drum kit.
And he was good.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. And it inspired me to no end whatsoever. And so I've been a fan of what y'all do from day one, and will always, anything I can ever do to be involved with what you do, except for maybe going up and down that hill a whole bunch of times. I'm not so sure I'm going to do that, but I would help Brad Borders if his tree's about to get struck by lightning, get back inside.
Yeah,
That's good. Well, I want to go back to the documentary here, Where I Belong, and so folks can still buy tickets for that, and it will be airing on September 8th at 11:15 a.m. and then again September 9th at 2:45 p.m. at Shearer Hall, which is Mitchell Community College, and so you can purchase your tickets for that online. I'm certain you can just do a quick Google of Full Bloom
Film Festival.
Festival and
Yeah.
be able to find that. But Rocky, you're so talented and do so much. I'm just curious, do you play your own part in the documentary?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So it is. I know some documentaries they have actors that do some of this. so I'm
And we
curious.
did approach several people. We tried to get Brad Pitt.
Okay. Well, I was wondering. I mean, we've talked about Eddie Van Halen to
then
Charles
tall
Tim
enough.
McGraw.
And then we went for Matthew McConaughey.
Not tall
you
enough
know.
and not
But the
good-looking
only
enough.
person that actually agreed to do it was that guy that played the constable in Justified. Remember that guy? And I thought, that's just not fair to him. That is not fair to him to do that. So, barring finding anybody as handsome as me, we just decided to let me go ahead and play me in the movie.
Okay.
You know.
Nobody else could do
Good
it.
answer.
Nobody
Good.
else could do it. That's
Good
for
answer.
sure.
That is fantastic. Let's put a pin in this for just a minute here. We'll come back to where I belong in a few minutes. You got something else that's really exciting. It's been on the national stage here lately. You help coach, as you talked about with Dale and his band Outlaw 2-1. But you've got another young lady from here in Statesville, North Carolina, that's been on the national stage performing.
Protege.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Danny.
About 4 years ago, Susan brought this young lady into my studio, and she sang for me sitting on the couch. And once in a great while, a person comes along that has a voice for a generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody who, when they say something and they sing, they open their. Patsy Cline would be an example of that. Janis Joplin would be an example of that. Bob Dylan, for that matter. And there's this young lady named Danny Carr, and I started working with her, would trying to write songs and make music, and then they were able to get her on America's Got Talent, which she excelled all the way to the semifinals, just kicking rear end and doing a great job. But my goal in that is exactly what John says. I'm just a coach. She already knows who she is. She's a fully formed artist. She knows exactly what she wants to do. And it's my job to say, hey, I've got half a lifetime of experience here. Let me try to help you avoid some potholes and move yourself forward without taking as many hits as you're going to have to take, because the music business, besides being full of scoundrels and filthy people sometimes and crooked people, there's also a downside.
Well, it was funny when it was just, I don't know, a month ago. I was here, you were in the studio, I heard music. And so whenever I hear music back there, I always go back and see if you're there. And Danny was here that day and got to meet her. And it was a few weeks after she had come back from L.A. doing the show then. And but the thing that really struck me about her, not only you let me listen to a song that y'all had just finished recording, and I was telling you before the show how that song just stuck in my head. And it was a song called "I Just Want to Get Better." Right?
It's called I Wish I Was.
I wish I was better.
Wish I was a little bit better. And we all do, don't we?
Man,
I mean, that was
is.
her idea. That was her hook. She came up with this. And, I helped her write the song, but she came up with that idea, and it's a great universal concept. There's not a person alive except for, I don't know, maybe Donald Trump that thinks they'd like to be a little bit better, right? All of us want to be just a little bit better, And her record is done. It's at mastering facility now. They're printing it up, and I would encourage everyone that hears this to listen to that record when it comes out, because it's fantastic.
And so where can people get that record?
Well, that's not a question for me, because I'm not good at logistics. I know it's done and it's being printed, and I think when it's done, they'll put it out. But I don't know exactly how that's going yet. Susan would be a good person to ask for that.
We'll find out. Make sure to share that on our social media, because I know I personally want a copy of it. I got a copy of your record here recently.
I'm going to bring you one of hers.
Yeah.
When y'all are in here one day, I'll come in and bring it to you.
I got a vinyl copy. I should have brought it today because I need to get him to sign it.
Same.
I got a vinyl copy of Rocky.
Well, you only live a block away.
I know. What the heck's wrong with me?
Stop by.
I guess tell you. I mean, just think about it. The man's got a gold record, and he's sitting here talking to us two.
I don't know why.
I mean, I'm not sure why either.
We're in the I've had a brush with greatness today.
You did? Where at?
When we come back, we're going to a break here. Listen for our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to hear from Devil Dog Devin, and then we're going to go back to learning more about Where I Belong.
Putting the pieces.
Nice.
Wow.
Wow.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, Joe's getting a workout today. Yeah,
Joe, we need to get you a microphone right now.
Ben come in here to check on you.
Well, we got some new sweet shirts today. I was going to see if y'all
What do we
wanted
got?
Yeah.
What do we
We're on
got?
Facebook still.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh,
Well,
look at
Oh,
that.
For those
Oh,
who
that's
can't
the
see,
new
they're showing
logo.
us sweet new shirts
Oh, my head.
Oh, those look good,
that
man.
we're going to try
That
to
was
swindle them out of one of those.
I got to tell you, Justin and team have been stepping it up here.
The game has.
They're not messing
WSIC
around,
News
man.
Talk.
They made a movie about him. It was called Step Up. You remember that?
I really think that was about a dance company.
Oh, is that what that was? Okay.
So I want to get back to these acronyms
large.
here. You know, so Space Force has got their own acronym list now.
They
Oh,
do?
my
I mean,
gosh.
they've not even been around long enough to. Let's
They've
see.
got-
Oh yeah.
BMU, that's one of their acronyms. Beam me up.
Beam me up,
XL.
Scott. That's
Yeah.
BMUS. Beam me up, Scotty.
Oh, beam me up, Scotty. I forgot about Scotty.
Hey,
But you
thank
can't
man.
forget about
Thanks a lot.
Scotty.
I love it.
Man,
Yeah.
thank you.
How about acronyms like C2H6? Who knows what that acronym is? C2H6.
C2H6. C2.
How about propane?
Is that
That's what it is.
I don't think.
Oh,
yeah, how about-
I think
how about
that's
here's another
probably the
acronym.
Chemical composition
I'm
there.
telling
ain't
you,
it?
this is okay. So BOGS.
Boggs.
No,
BO, yeah,
blade outer
I don't wanna
gas
say anything, but-
seal.
Oh.
I mean, they got a crazy list of.
Hey, Devin, why don't you get the Boggs out of the truck?
Well, here's another one.
I
This has
can't do
got
it
this
too
has
heavy.
got to scare you when you think about what it could possibly mean. How about BEN?
Ben?
Ben.
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 That was the guy
BEN.
just in the studio.
It means no. It means benign.
Benign. Oh,
I mean, if that's one of their acronyms, I mean,
That's not even an acronym. That's a hyphenation or
well,
a shortening.
This is on there.
An abbreviation.
Okay, here's one. Here's one. Anybody that's been in the Army ought to know, and that is APU.
APU?
Yeah,
I don't know.
auxiliary power unit.
Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, here's another one. ALLI.
A lie.
No. Aluminum lithium.
Oh, yeah. They're
mean-
about into big chemical. They're into the chemical thing.
I think that's like
Why-
they
why
just
are they-
took that off
Okay,
the periodic
here's a
table.
good
They
one.
just- That's not a.
AEG.
Egg.
No. Apollo entry guidance.
Oh,
You
I thought it'd
guys
be like
must,
a
must
really.
have been officers. Because listen, when we got acronyms, it was the 6 P's: prior planning prevents
piss poor
perform.
for-
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of thing.
We had 7 P's.
CYA.
I had 7 P's. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. I use that with my son all the time. He would do something stupid, and I would go 7 P's. Oh no.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we use like FUBAR,
yeah,
Goat Road,
food bar.
you know.
Yeah,
Did y'all have the big chicken dinner? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
big
we
chicken dinner.
Yeah.
can't
yeah.
say
What
we
is
had a
big chicken dinner?
BCD, the big chicken dinner. That's also stands for bad conduct discharge.
Oh,
y'all,
yeah.
y'all,
Bad
y'all
conduct.
called it the.
How do
That's
you
only
know-
in the Marines.
You evidently know that, Devin. You're very
I-
familiar with that.
No, I fortunately did not partake in that meal.
It's good.
That was my
Chicken
favorite
dinner.
part of the Army.
The big chicken dinner.
No, just food, man.
Yeah, the food.
Man, at our house
What?
growing up, if we had pintos for dinner, that's what we had the whole
Oh,
week
that was
until
it.
they were gone.
Yeah.
You know that
Oh,
was.
yeah, yeah.
And I went in the Army. The first day I went in the mess hall, I'm like, "Are you kidding? We're
Now-
gonna eat
now,
like
Rocky,
this every
the
day."
older I get, the more I enjoy a bowl of pintos and some cornbread.
Oh, I'm
Oh, I
all
do
back
love
to
some
it now.
pintos and cornbread.
But I just couldn't believe it. And then 2 weeks later, they paid us. Oh my God!
All right, we coming back in?
We got about 15 seconds.
Okay. Hey,
Joe,
Facebook,
you're
we're
doing a
going back
great
live.
Well,
job.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
Proud to be a soldier, to offer my life in this fight for the red, white, and blue. I won't back down. I'll stand my ground along with all the others.
Hey, welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Home Tour. You're listening to Rocky Lynn, and he is a world-famous musician and my neighbor. We're
Not
talking-
in that order.
Not in that order. My neighbor, Andy's world famous. My neighbor first. And so we're really glad to have him on the show today. And it's been a great show so far. There's more to come. Rocky's been making us laugh the whole time in here, and it's been awesome. So
Thank you for having me,
yeah,
Brad.
so glad to have you here, brother. And hey, we've got our everybody's favorite segment of the week. The Devil Dog himself is back from a secret mission somewhere, I'm sure, and has the project of the week.
I don't know about any secret missions this past week.
Everybody
I've got
heard
one.
him the whole route.
I've got one coming for him. I've got a secret
gosh.
mission coming for you next week.
Oh, man.
So be on the lookout on social media. You're going to see Devin riding a very weird bicycle coming up
gosh.
in the next week or
Can
so.
I not just sit
No.
back with Rocky? Because he mentioned he wasn't going to ride up the hill. Yeah, we'll just go to the bar and get a drink over there at the Southern
Yeah.
Distillery.
I'm going to make him
Some
wear
people
Ranger
have to
panties.
do that. Some people have to do the heavy lifting. That'll be
Oh
you
my
and
gosh.
I. We'll do that. So
Well, with that in mind, I guess watch your social media because apparently you're going to get to see my secret mission.
And you're going to be wearing Ranger panties. And for those that don't
Ranger
know,
panties.
they are illegal shorts that people wear in the Ranger Regiment. And they are too short. Remember Daisy Duke? That's kind of what they look like.
I know we didn't really call them Ranger panties in the Marine Corps, but yeah, we had the same thing. Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah, they were pretty short.
We're gonna have to get our friend Evan over here to make sure he's a part of
gosh.
that.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
I think y'all should do some less intensive bicycle riding for the people who are not quite initiated to ride up that hill 2,000 times or
We got something for you.
like something. See,
So wait. We do curls at Southern Distilling while they're riding the bikes.
Yeah, there
where
you
they're
go.
doing curls.
Yeah.
So Susan, who books me, she books me, and I do a lot of motorcycle rides. And sometimes I've been the motorcycle that escorts bicycles on rides.
Right.
And so she booked this ride. It was a ride it started in Gettysburg and went all the way to Bethesda and ended at Walter Reed. And I was going to play at the end of it. And so we fly into Bethesda, or into Gettysburg, and we were leaving from Seamus. Do you know who Seamus? He was a
wrestler?
gunny
Oh.
sergeant from the Marine Corps. His property backed up to Gettysburg, and that's where we were leaving from. And so we get there, and we're going. I got my helmet and my leather jacket and my boots, and as we get there, it's bicycles everywhere. Bicycles and wounded soldiers, and there's guys with bikes where they sit and they pedal with their hand because they don't have any feet.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
Sue goes, I think I'm about to get fired. And I said, why? She says, I don't think this is a motorcycle ride. It was a bicycle ride. 110 miles. And of all the things I am, I'm not very smart. We've established I'm not very handsome. We've established I just write a whole lot of songs. I'm not very good. But I am determined. And so I got on that dadgum bicycle that they gave me, and I rode 110 miles.
No kidding.
And oh my God, I didn't sit down for a month.
Oh my gosh!
And so every time Brad I don't even remember playing. I don't remember. Apparently I did, but I don't remember doing it. But every time Brad
didn't
says
do
we're
it
just
too.
going to do about 30 miles, I'm like, let's do 2 miles, man. let's go out there and do it. I got a bike.
Now, Rocky, you are aware that Harley's now making an e-bike, right?
Yeah.
No, I can do that.
E-bike.
Yeah.
Go talk to Derek. He's got one of them.
Oh man, I would like
Get you
that.
on
Oh
that.
my God.
Has it
That
got a
thing
motor in it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You push on the pedals, and it's pedal assist. You can fly.
Oh, I'll come do that.
30
Count
miles
me
an
in.
hour, man. Bro, that thing's great.
Well, speaking of determined, you know who is determined is Purple Heart Homes.
Yes, they are.
And we
Well,
are
good.
determined to help our veterans each and every day. And we just had finished up on a project that sometimes things don't go perfect. And this veteran's wife called us because he can't call himself. He has dementia and Alzheimer's and some other things going on, not too far away from us. So John sent me on a secret mission over there to determine what the problem was, because it had been done by one of our chapters, and it turned out that while everything wasn't done exactly the way that I would have done it, it really wasn't the problem in this veteran's home. She had 2 separate problems. When I say she, I mean the wife, and we took a look at it, and we determined that none of this was part of the project that we did. But what we saw is that the veteran still needed help. And so while we went there to look at warranting the work, we found that the veteran instead just had another need. And we went ahead and did what was right and took care of that. She had a major leak in her home. It was ruining everything in the basement. Thanks to Team Rubicon, they come out there, cleaned it out. They found $500 in the basement.
Oh my
Like cash money?
Cash money, handed it over. And we had a men's group from a local church in Mooresville. They went out there to Winston-Salem area. They cleaned this thing out for us. And all in all, when everything was said and done, not only did we fix the issues that we didn't do as well as we could have, but we went above and beyond and fixed the other issues because that's what the veteran deserved.
That's what you guys are about, man.
Absolutely.
That's how you do it.
And I want to give a big shout out to Tammy Borders because she was the project manager on this. And
Tammy Borders?
Tammy Borders.
Tammy Borders. I'm sorry. Tammy Burchett.
Thank you so much.
Did you know she was running secret missions?
No, I did
apologize. Tammy Burchett.
I was going to say, I didn't know we had any more people on the payroll.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a
I'm
plethora
looking
of
at it.
names being thrown
And by
around
the
here.
way,
Tammy's been moonlighting as a project manager.
Yeah.
she didn't tell you, Brad? Oh,
No.
my
I've been
gosh.
so busy. I haven't
Yeah.
been able to come in.
Like, what are you
Tammy
doing over there?
Burchett, I apologize, but
I
she
knew
did
I
a
saw
heck
her
of a
around the
job.
office a lot. I mean, I knew y'all came as a package. But she was.
I didn't know either. That's incredible.
Oh my gosh.
My wife is multifaceted and multi-talented,
This is
so
true.
that is fantastic.
Well, hey, if you want to help a veteran, go to phhusa.org. I'm going to turn it back over to y'all.
Couldn't be a better cause to donate to, folks. I mean, these guys have been doing this for a long time. Any veteran in need, they do every single thing they can. Purple Heart Homes deserves not only our full financial support, but our moral support and our prayers as well, because they are in the trenches helping the men that need the help.
Thanks, Rocky.
Yeah, man, and we just celebrated our 15th anniversary last weekend,
Wow.
and so 2008 was the Articles of Incorporation, or not really the whatever you call it, right?
Yeah, we got our 501c3.
501c3 in 2008, and 1,270 some veteran projects later, here we are, right? In 15 years, and
Hard
the
to
majority
believe.
of those happened in the last 5 years, right? So it's pretty incredible. So we're really glad for the support of our local community and the support nationwide that people have thrown behind us, because we couldn't do it without you.
Well, we got a couple more minutes before our break here, and I want to ask Rocky a story. Tell us a funny story from your service. Share something that you look
Okay.
back on your service that makes you laugh and inspires you to move forward.
Well, in the military, if you're in the infantry, one of the things they try to do is teach you how to read a compass. And when we would do patrol means we walk around in the woods with heavy stuff on our back. You would stay 10 to 12 meters behind the person in front of you. And you do that because the kill radius of an M67 fragmentation grenade is 10 meters. And so that way, if a grenade went off in between of you, which seldom happens in Georgia, thank God, you would be all right. Well, I am the world's worst compass reader. So when we would do these things, we would get a destination we're going to, and it'd be at night, and you couldn't usually see. But we had these little hats that had these little 2 glow-in-the-dark strips in the back of them. And Michael Holcomb, who was the guy in front of me, I would just follow him. I'd see his little 2 things, and I'd stay back a little ways.
They
and
called them cat eyes.
Yes, and I would just
Yeah.
follow Michael Holcomb. Well, one night Michael is going through every bush. He's not going around places. He's going all through these bushes. And finally, I said, I got to catch up to him and see what the heck is going on in Michael Holcomb's mind. And when I caught Michael Holcomb that night, I hadn't had a whole lot of sleep. We were in training, you know. It was a firefly. I had been following. I had been following a lightning bug
That's a song.
through the
You just wrote a song.
through the Fort Benning jungles for about an hour. And so then I did what every good infantry soldier does. I took a nap. I figured they would find me and get me in trouble anyway.
Hey, we'll be right back
we're
after
gonna
these
cut the
messages.
break.
You're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together.
More.
Oh, that's a dang catchy song right there. Following Firefly. Lord have mercy.
That is by far my favorite funny
That's the best
story.
we've ever had on here, man. We need that on short somewhere.
Oh, that's good.
Cow, man.
Oh, that's definitely going to be a short. Before the end of the day, that will be a short. How about
that is incredible, man.
So, Rocky, tell us. So you start making the film Where I Belong, and you're going through this process. What What kind of emotions did it bring back for you? What were some things that were going through your mind that folks may not consider or think about? What was that like?
Well, when you see the film, our hope is that you see not a movie about guitar playing guy that, according to my attorney in Minneapolis 20 years ago, that's too stupid to quit. He said, "You're too stupid to quit, aren't you?" and a year later, I had a song on the Oak Ridge Boys' Greatest Hits record. So yes, I was too stupid to quit. But what we're hoping for is whether you're a mechanic or a carpenter or you have a rickshaw and you want to have a rickshaw business. It's a story about hope.
Yeah.
We could have made a completely different movie. We could have made a movie about being abandoned and left in the elements to fend for yourself, or all the loneliness and sadness or feeling of less than that comes from growing up in an orphanage or foster homes or abuse. It could have been about that. But instead we chose love. We chose faith and forgiveness and an idea where even the smallest of us have the same opportunity, a chance to reach out and reach for your dreams, and that everybody has a chance and everybody has hope, because when you start at the bottom, you really only got one direction to go. You know, so that's what the movie is really about. That's what I hope it's about. That's what I hope it comes off as.
I'm looking forward to seeing
Well, that
it.
gives me goosebumps on the back of my neck.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really me tickling you from over. It's my
So you're going through this process. You had to be, I would imagine, reflecting back through life, right? And who was somebody that gave you that inspiration? I mean, along the way, where did that come from? Was that just something inside you innately, or?
No, I think there's a blessing that comes from not coming from a lot, coming from from a place where like, to me, I just did an interview with a guy about the movie, and it was in New York City, and his first question to me was, well, how did you feel after your record deal was a failure? And I said, well, you live in a brownstone in New York City and grew up in Charleston as the richest family in Charleston, and you write for the New York Times. I grew up on a dirt road in North Carolina. To me, my record deal was a success. Maybe it wouldn't be for you. It's all in how you look at it.
Yeah, for
a lot of people say their cup's too half full or half tippy. I think most cups people have just too big. Just live with the cup you got, right? And I think.
Going back.
Dang.
And when their duty calls them to stand guard and patrol, they represent with honor the values we uphold. They are the proud Americans, tested, tried, and true. They're red, white, and
Well, you're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, and you're hearing Rocky Lynn, our friend, our neighbor, grown up here in Iredell
Distinguished
County,
guest.
distinguished guest, and just man, we're really glad to have
Humble
you.
too.
And humble, and tall and good looking.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Tall and good looking. Hey, I just got word over Facebook that Danny Carr has landed back in North Carolina.
Danny Carr is on the ground.
She is on the ground in North Carolina, so that's good.
Well,
news.
don't
So-
tell her, but while she was gone, I detailed her car.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
It's
Well,
buff waxed and cleaned
Yeah.
and perfect. She's
well,
gonna
we'll
she's
keep
not
that
gonna
a
recognize
secret.
it.
We won't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't
whoops.
tell anybody.
Right. So, hey, during the break, we were talking. Rocky was sharing a little bit about. In case you missed it, he was sharing a story about how he got lost in the woods at Fort Benning, sounded like, and thought he was following a soldier that had glow-in-the-dark tape on the back of his hat, and turned out he was following a firefly. So, which is an awesome story, by the way, and that should be a country song, following fireflies, right? So, but
Don't go chasing fireflies.
yeah, but
There's your hook.
yeah, that's right. But I think one of the things you said during the break was about the kind of the roots of this documentary called "Where I Belong" that is coming out. It's going to be shown here in Statesville. It's going to be shown in a lot of other festivals coming up. But the story is rooted in love and forgiveness.
Yes.
And I think it was really powerful. Can you elaborate? We talked about that during the break, but for our listeners back on live on the air, can you elaborate a little bit on that for us?
Well, as I was talking with y'all, and John asked me about that, and I said, we could have made a completely different kind of movie. It could have been a movie about growing up in an orphanage or foster homes and what that was like in the late 60s, early 70s. It wasn't always a pretty picture, and sometimes there's lots of things that go with that that sort of vernacular that makes it so that a kid might feel less than or not quite have the right kind of shoes or the whatever. And we wanted to make a movie that lived in hope, where there, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm still thinking I got a shot at it. Like I had an attorney once. His name was Ken Abdo. He's a great, wonderful friend of mine, and I was trying to get him to shop one of my records, and he said, "You're just too stupid to quit, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I'm just too stupid to quit," because I think that the only thing that'll ever keep you from reaching your goal is if you quit. It's not. You just got to keep going and keep reaching for whatever it is you're reaching for. And for me, I'm just reaching for to be the best human being I can be. I want to be a good citizen. I want to be a good human being. I want to reach out to my fellow man. I'm not trying to live in a big house or drive a big car. I'm trying to do what's right and trying to be someone who can maybe reach down and help somebody. With me, it's music. So I try to reach and help people that might could benefit from all the mistakes that I've made in the past, and that's what our movie's about. Our movie's about hope and trying to build something, and it's got a musical component to it too. I'm excited to see what happens with it. I'm stunned every time I see it, and when I watch people's reaction, it literally brings me to tears. And as you know me, I'm not a crier, but I sit there and see people moved by the story of my life, and I think, well, if they're moved by my story, they for sure be moved by your story and your story and your story. We all have a story, and we all have a path that we're going through, and I'm just trying to help people find theirs.
Man, I appreciate it, and I'm so glad that this platform is been put together and that this message can get out, and I think it's gonna be really good for our community, but good for anybody to watch this, and I'm excited about going to check it out.
Oh yeah, and it'll be on a broadcast network at the first of the year. Either probably PBS is where it's going to start, and then it'll be on other ones. Just came from Minnesota. That was nice. It was 110
tell us about that
degrees.
trip.
It's the 20th year, 20th annual Tribute to the Troops motorcycle ride in Minnesota, and so we had hundreds of motorcycles, and we had a dinner. We visited 2 families that had lost service members while they were serving our country. Minnesotans are very interesting people. Do you know how to get 10 Minnesotans out of a swimming pool? You say, "Hey guys, you mind getting out of the swimming pool?" It ain't like down here where you got to get a fish hook and pull Scott Johnson out of the pool, and get his floating duck and all that. Just say, "Hey guys, you mind getting out of the pool?" They'll do it. 'Cause Minnesota is exactly. They are wonderful
you
folks.
betcha.
So tell us about the mission of Tribute for the Troops and how people can get involved and what's y'all's greatest need.
What we want to do. Here's what we want to do. Like the motorcycle ride is in North Carolina is in October. It's coming up. We're going to go visit 2 families in Lexington, and then we'll do a family at the visit here. And what my small part is to research those people that we go and see. And I go not just for them military life and how they lost their life serving for us, but the whole story.
What weekend's that going to be, right?
It's going to be October, I think it's October 11th. I have to double check that, but I think it's that weekend. And so we recognize what we want to do is remember their service and their family service, because every single day at a Gold Star family's house is Memorial Day. Every day. This morning I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. No, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I took a Gold Star mother to Concord, who was having surgery, and her son was going to come up and take her, but he got delayed because of the hurricane and all the trouble. And see, because sometimes when if something happened to you on the way home today, they'd call your wife a widow. Something happened to her, they'd call you a widower. I grew up at the Barium Springs Home for Children. They called us orphans. But there's no word for the loss of a child. They don't have a word that says, "Hey, you're this now."
Right.
And sometimes that's probably because there are no words. There's no words that can go to that deep a place where they're trying to live at. And when there are no words, sometimes the only thing left is an action.
Yeah, agreed.
And Tribute to the Troops is an action. Purple Heart Homes is an action. You stand in that person's yard where that kid grew up, and there's 500 people from all over the United States that came to say, we are here to say in a loud and clear voice, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for our freedoms. And we're not going to forget. We're going to remember. That's what Tribute to the
I
Troops
got
is.
introduced to, there's a guy, a podcaster named Rich Roll, and he's got a podcast entitled Mood Follows Action. Right, and it has just, for the last month, I've been applying that to everything. It is literally true. It's 100% true that whatever action you take will create a follow-on mood.
Yeah.
Right, always. And so when you're in a bad mood, right, the way to get away from the bad mood is to take an action that creates a positive mood. Right.
Right.
It's taking action, and so every action that Tribute to the Troops takes. Matt, tell me how people feel when they get done participating in that action of showing love to these families. What is the response from the participants?
Well, we got 20 years of up in Minnesota, and there's some pretty hardcore bikers ride with us, and old Vietnam guys and Special Forces guys and Marine guys. And at one point of the story, Darby Morin, the sergeant that we visited, he was a First Nation person from Canada. And because of the Jay Treaty, he could serve in the United States Army. And he spent his whole life when he was off duty going back to the reservations in his uniform and encouraging the young indigenous people of Canada, because they're plagued with drug abuse and alcohol abuse and mistreatment by the government.
And
you
suicide, too.
You think we were bad to the Native Americans? The Canadians were even worse. But when he died, he wanted to be buried on that reservation. And his wife, on the dignified transfer back, was on a small plane with him. It took her forever to get the paperwork done, so it was just the two pilots, the man in his unit that escorted him from where he had encountered the IED, his wife, and then his casket was directly behind her seat, flag covered. And she asked the pilot, she said, when we cross over into Canada, can you let me know when we're going to cross? And she said directly, the pilot came and said, we're getting ready to cross the border from the U.S. into Canada. And as they crossed over, she reached back and put her hand on his casket so she could hold him as he got home. And there wasn't a dry eye in that yard.
No, I'm sure.
Even those tough guys, even me, it was hard for me to get through it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for 20 years. And that's the kind of memories we want them to know, that who Darby Morin was and what he's about, and remember him, because we are sitting in this room because of him. It's because of men like him and because of men like you that we are free.
So, Rocky, tell us how can folks get a hold of the Tribute for the Troops?
Well, you can go to tributetothetroops.org. We've been in 5 states for the last 19 years, and we are now a national charity, like you guys. We're trying to, we'll say, borrow a whole bunch of your ideas. I mean, we're gonna
give it to you.
we want to try to do what you're doing and be able to serve veterans and their families in all 50 states. So we've moved out. This year alone, we went to South Carolina, Virginia. We got Wisconsin planned. So go to the website, come volunteer, come hang out with us, come to the North Carolina ride and see what it's all
That's
about. Tributetothetroops.org.
Okay.
Which I think is an acronym in Space Force for something.
Yes, it is.
I think it stands for Orbit Right Gone.
Yeah, Orbit Right Gone. Of course. Why not? Yeah, I love it. And you can look up Rocky online, and you can find his website where all his music is housed at, and probably on Spotify.
Yep,
I
and
would
that's,
imagine.
Rocky Lynn, RockieLynne.
The most misspelled
.com.
name in the music business. Okay, I had a record deal at one point. I had a #1 single. I'm not bragging, but we did. And we had a bus, and we showed up, and it said, Rocky and the Road Itch on the sign, or something like that. So
You have been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, and join us again next week.
Yeah, it's gonna be
thank you so much.